25 years ago, a horrific incident left a deep, indelible scar on my soul. Now, my wife wants me to write everything down, hoping it will help me overcome what's become unbearable. I asked for a break, reaching for a bottle of whiskey for company. All I wanted was to be left alone, just for today, a few hours to clear my head for this pain to subside. "How about the park?" she suggested. "No," I replied. "It looks like it's about to rain, damn it." "Or you could take Charlie to the movies, or just walk around the mall." She was silent, not responding immediately. "Things like this shouldn't be bottled up," she sighed. "It's best to face it, find a way to deal with things like this." She couldn't even utter the words. I wanted to scream. What things? The horrific kidnapping, the abuse, the rape, the murder, the suicide. My love, are those the things you're hinting at? Anger boiled in my chest, but I suppressed it, not wanting to raise my voice at her. I knew she was worried, but she didn't understand this pain. No one could. "How about taking our son to visit his grandma?" I forced a smile. "She'd be thrilled to spend time with you too." She stopped what she was doing and walked towards me, where I sat absently on the edge of the bed. She knelt down, looking directly into my eyes, her gaze steady. "Stop," I said, my voice heavy with despair. "Just stop, let the past sleep." "That would be better," she said. I began humming the tune of Auld Lang Syne, as if to affirm her statement. She said she had called in sick for me, that I wouldn't be going to work today. She also told me not to leave the house without her. She was determined not to let me confine myself somewhere alone. Worse still, I noticed that the usual clutter of papers on my desk had been replaced by pristine white sheets and a new box of pencils. I knew what she wanted, and the thought terrified me. "Why are you forcing me to do this? I'm fine, really." She continued to stare at me, a look mixed with love and profound sadness. "I'm fine," I repeated like a mantra. She took my hand, squeezing it tightly, full of encouragement. That's when I realized my hand was trembling violently. "Damn it, you won't be able to push us away," she said, kissing my forehead. "We love you." The next thing I knew, she was at the doorway, ready to leave. "Write down what you don't want to say. I'll read it tonight." The door slowly closed, leaving me in the silent room. 15 minutes later, I was still sitting there, motionless on the edge of the bed, staring at the empty wall. She hadn't given me any choice. I forced myself to stand up, shuffling towards the desk. I picked up a pencil, examining it, wondering if I was ready to do this. "No. Please, God, help me." At 6 years old, I was kidnapped. Today marks the anniversary of that kidnapping. That's why my wife is so worried. That's why I'm shaking. That's why I'm not okay. 25 years ago, unimaginable horrors happened to me. A quarter of a century has passed, yet I still tremble at the mere thought of them. To be honest, I probably can't remember everything that happened, so maybe my wife is right. If writing it down can unlock those memories, maybe I can finally leave them behind once and for all. That day was June 29, 1987, a Monday morning. I had just finished first grade, so I wasn't in school. My mom was making French toast, my favorite breakfast. I guess my dad was still in bed. He usually liked to sleep in on weekends, but it was Monday. Maybe he was sick and stayed home. As for me, I was engrossed in Super Mario Brothers. Mom told me to turn it off because she was tired of hearing the game's background music played over and over again. I asked if I could watch Cartoon Express instead, but she refused, so I asked if I could go outside. The rain had stopped, though the sky was still cloudy and it would probably rain again soon. She agreed, but with a warning: only play in the front yard and come inside immediately if it rains. Before she finished her sentence, I slammed the door shut. "Yes, ma'am," I shouted from the yard. The remnants of a battle between He-Man, Voltron, G.I. Joe, and M.A.S.K. were still strewn about. I was looking for one of my favorite toys, a mighty blue tiger with orange stripes from He-Man's team. I wasn't sure if Roger, my neighbor, had taken it, or if we had buried it as a temporary casualty in the war. It was my toy, so if he had taken it, I'd be very angry. I considered going inside to call Roger and ask if he had my tiger, and maybe lure him out to play, but I didn't. I guessed Mom would change her mind and forbid me from going out because it was about to rain. Instead of calling, I decided to cross the street and knock on his door. Even though Mom told me to stay in the yard, I thought she wouldn't mind. I was 6 years old, old enough to look both ways before crossing the street. As I closed the gate, an old, rusty red van started rolling towards me. I waited for it to pass so I could cross the street. But instead of driving on, it slowed down and then stopped right in front of me. I was pretty sure I had seen this van before. Hadn't it just passed my house a few minutes ago? The driver's side window rolled down. "Hey, kid," the man said, his voice sounding like he knew me. I looked at him, trying to remember if he was the dad of one of my friends. His hair was short and jet black, and stubble covered his face, partly hiding a long, nasty scar on his cheek. He looked familiar, but with big, dark sunglasses, like the Magnum PI kind, I wasn't entirely sure. "Hello, sir," I replied. "Are you Tania's dad?" He smiled. "No, not Tania's dad." There was something wrong with his smile. Even at 6, I recognized it. Behind the friendly grin, I sensed a hidden darkness. It was the kind of smile that made children remember they shouldn't talk to strangers. I took a step back, carefully keeping my eyes on him. He maintained that smile and stared at me. I planned to scream as loud as I could if he moved even an inch. I knew that just a few more steps would put me safely in my yard. "I have an idea," he said. "How about we go for a ride as planned?" "No," I screamed at the top of my lungs, scrambling back into the yard, running straight for the house. I burst into tears, sobbing uncontrollably. My mom hugged me tight. My dad rushed outside, brandishing a baseball bat or maybe a gun. He could handle the stranger in the old van. The neighbors had heard my terrified scream. They quickly called the police, providing information about the license plate and the vehicle. I was safe, thanks to the plan of a 6-year-old. It was a perfect plan. Except I didn't realize the woman who had stealthily circled around and grabbed me. She clamped a hand over my mouth and nose, while her other arm tightened around my neck. No one heard my scream. I tried to struggle, but she was too strong. No matter how much I kicked or flailed my arms, I couldn't break free. Her grip tightened, and my vision began to blur. She dragged me closer and closer to the rusty red van, squeezing tighter as my strength dwindled. "Quick, get it in the car, Sally. We have to go before someone sees us," the man urged. I gasped desperately for air. A heavy rain began to pour down. Her arm tightened around my neck. I couldn't breathe. She pulled me closer and closer to the van's wide-open back door. 2 blinding flashes of lightning struck nearby. As everything faded to black, the last thing I heard before I died was the deafening boom of 2 thunderclaps. Writing these lines, 25 years later, I am both astonished and terrified by long-forgotten memories, the flashes of lightning. I now realize I had never seen anything so beautiful. I regret losing that, but I need to erase both the good and the bad. How can I separate it from the surrounding events? Over the years, I had trained myself to believe a fictional story. I had told myself that I ran safely into the house so many times that it became true, a self-evident truth, so much so that I forgot the details of the actual kidnapping. Now, facing the truth, I realize I've relived it over and over in endless nightmares. I was striding down a remote dirt road. Rolling hills stretched in every direction. In the distance, I could see endless, overlapping mountain ranges. Except for a few scraggly trees, only large rocks dotted the barren landscape. The sun was out now, and the air was cool and fresh, but that wouldn't last. A fierce storm was brewing on the horizon. From the top of the hill ahead, a carriage appeared, slowly approaching me. As it drew closer, I noticed both the carriage and the horses were a fiery red. Closer still, I saw 2 figures dressed in black sitting side by side on the carriage bench, a man and a woman. Just as we were about to pass each other, I bowed my head to them and raised my hands, palms open. It was a sign of respect. I wanted to show them I was just a harmless, unarmed traveler. The man ordered the horse to stop. It stopped. The man smiled. Oh, there was something so sinister about his smile. He thrust a rusty, sharp sword into my chest. "You," he said, his voice laced with hatred, disgust, and a fleeting recognition. "Have we met somewhere before?" The woman climbed down from her seat. She grabbed me by the neck, lifted me, and threw me into the carriage's back compartment. A blinding flash of lightning struck somewhere far off. The man let out a wild laugh. "Madman!" he shouted triumphantly. I felt something wet and sticky. I looked at my hands. They were covered in blood. Behind the carriage were corpses, hundreds of young beasts floating in a sea of red blood, staring at me with cloudy, white, lifeless eyes. Back in 1987, a 6-year-old child was thrown into the rusty red van. It was dead. It felt loved. It felt safe. It wanted to be pulled into that place. But suddenly, death left it. It didn't want to leave that warm place and tried to chase after it. Now, contentment was broken by a pain that was increasingly difficult to ignore. The void receded, and hearing returned, distracting it further from trying to hold onto what it had just found. Is the kid still twitching? No, he stopped. Is he breathing? Who cares? Just drive, damn it. I heard a piercing screech. It took me a moment to remember it was the sound of tires, and a little longer to remember where I was and how I got here. I tried to sit up but couldn't. My wrists were bound. I tried to call for Mom but couldn't. My mouth was taped shut. I realized I wasn't alone in the van. As my vision cleared, I saw a little girl sitting opposite me, surrounded by a litter of puppies. All of them had a large, deep gash on their throats. All of them were dead, except for the one she held in her arms. That one was panting, struggling to breathe, blood oozing from its throat and mouth. In her other hand, the girl held a dagger. Hello, the girl said. Edited after drinking, I started writing again. Back to the present. I feel like I should apologize to anyone reading these lines. While I haven't lied, I feel like I may have misled you. When I started writing, I begged to be left alone for a moment. Looking back, I realized that might have implied I could overcome the obstacles brought on by the kidnapping's anniversary in just one day. The truth is, these feelings, whenever they resurface annually, don't disappear after a few hours. It takes days for me to fully recover. Some days are easier, but most are very difficult for anyone around me. I think the reason is that the trauma I experienced didn't end in just one day. What they did to me, what asterisk they had planned, would have lasted until someone died. I'm trying to remember what happened right after I saw the little girl, but all I can recall are fireworks. That day was July 4, 1987, a Saturday afternoon. 6 days had passed since I was kidnapped right outside my house. They still hadn't killed me. All I did was cry. Even when they weren't hurting me or forcing me to do bad things, I still cried every day. That little girl promised they would take me home every day. The man and woman laughed at my fragile hope. While they were all outside, gathered around a bonfire, preparing fireworks for that evening, I was again tied up in the back of the van. I was thinking about home. First, I wondered what Roger was doing. I wondered how many more summer vacation days were left before second grade started. This made me think about homework, and I remembered that when I started first grade, I struggled with math. I picked up spelling and reading quickly, but numbers never made sense to me. My mom and dad always helped me with my homework. They always said if you have a problem you can't solve, go back step by step and review the entire process. The past week had been a blur of shock and vague pain. This made me scroll through the past few days in my head. Maybe I could learn something. If I did what they wanted or said the right thing, they would let me go home. Otherwise, I might find a way to escape. The first day ended at a rundown motel. I was chained to the sink in the cramped bathroom. They kept the tape tightly sealed over my mouth. I tried to scream all night until, at one point, the woman came in and slapped me hard across the face, warning me that if I didn't keep quiet, she would drown me in the toilet. Being drowned was scary enough, but before that, the little girl had tried to flush some dead puppies, so the thought of being drowned in puppy blood horrified me even more. I struggled all night, trying to break free, but the handcuffs were too tight. By morning, my wrists were cut and bruised. On the second day, the man said he would give me medicine. I immediately knew I would refuse to swallow anything he gave me, and if forced, I would vomit. I didn't care what happened afterward. His eyes told me that he understood what I was thinking. When he opened the bag he carried, instead of a bottle of pills, I saw a gleaming syringe. I don't know how long I slept. When I woke up, my clothes were soaked. I was ashamed that I had wet myself. None of them bothered. I was given a McDonald's Happy Meal, but there was no toy. This time, the woman sat in the back with me. On the radio, I heard an announcement about a missing 6-year-old boy. How sad, I thought. I hope they find him soon. I tried to listen for details, but the woman kept interrupting. She talked about how cute I was. I nodded, wanting to let her know I was listening. Then she pinched my cheek, her nails digging into my skin. I felt blood trickle down my face. She laughed gleefully. I cried, but my mouth was taped shut, so I could only sob in muffled gasps. She pinched me again, then slapped me hard, making my head spin. Ungrateful brat, she said, her voice full of anger. The little girl in the front turned around, curious. "Mommy," she asked. "What is it?" the woman replied, her voice softer. "Can we get a cat? I want a cat but no claws." Perhaps it was the fourth day. They never traveled far during the day, only moving at night. They stopped for gas and sometimes grabbed food, tossing me the leftover scraps. I was never left alone. This time, the little girl stayed with me. She was pouring a whole gallon of milk over a cat's head, holding its neck tightly so it couldn't escape. I begged her to stop hurting the animal, but my mouth was still taped, so she easily ignored me. "Bad kitty," the girl said. "You're a very bad kitty." When the man and woman returned, the cat was dead. They threw its body out the window as the car drove off, leaving the poor animal by the roadside. The next day, they removed the tape from my mouth. I had learned to keep silent. The man also stopped injecting me with drugs. I pretended to sleep during the day. I heard the man and woman whispering to each other, but I didn't understand what they were saying. The van stopped at the side of the road. We were now in the mountains. The scenery was majestic but desolate. All three of them stared at me, all looking very angry, and I didn't know what I had done wrong. "Untie its hands," the man ordered. The little girl took the keys from the woman and untied my hands. "Hold it tight," he said. "I don't want to hurt it too much." I didn't resist. If I did what they wanted, maybe they wouldn't hurt me anymore. The woman held my wrists tightly, pressing them down onto the cold floor of the van. The little girl sat on my chest, her weight making it hard to breathe. She had a piece of candy swirling on her tongue. For a moment, I was envious that I didn't have one. Now the man held something in his hand. It was a gleaming razor blade. I knew this because my dad used it to shave. He used to say he would teach me how to use one someday. He bent down, and I couldn't see what he was doing. The pain. Oh God, the excruciating pain. When it was over and the van was moving again, I was left unbound and untaped, but it hurt. It hurt so terribly. The man had used the razor blade to carve an X onto my fingertip, deep and bleeding. It's now the 6th day. I still don't know what I need to do to go home. I hope Mom and Dad will come find me. I'm sad they haven't come. How could they not know where I am? If I were Dad, I would always know how to find my child, no matter what. I can't help but feel angry at them. Then I feel guilty for being angry at them. Over the past few days, I've learned a lot of important things. Most importantly, not to cry. No matter what they do to me, I won't cry anymore. The fireworks are ready. They're waiting for the sun to set. Tonight, we're going to have so much fun, I heard the woman say, her voice full of excitement. All three of them looked at me from inside the car. I knew for sure that something bad was about to happen. Back to the present. Around 3:20 p.m., my wife heard me. I don't want to say crying, so let's call it sniffling. Men are allowed to sniffle, right? She walked in to see if I was okay. I told her that she had left her laptop at home, so I was using it instead of writing by hand. She didn't seem annoyed. I hadn't told her that I had posted what I wrote online, and I didn't intend to. It felt like a betrayal, but I wanted to make sure everything was right before letting her read it. Hopefully, when she reads it, she'll understand. She took my hand. I turned my palm over and looked at the crisscrossing scars on my fingertip. "You've never told anyone how you got these scars." She didn't say anything, and I was glad. You know you have an amazing wife when she knows when to push and when to stop. I don't know how I got so lucky. "Just remember, this was your idea," I said. "I hope you're right about this." "Do you want to stop?" she asked. I looked at the Southern Comfort Black Label bottle resting on my desk. More than a third of the bottle was gone. I imagined that somewhere, a stranger might have had a drink or 2 or 3 with me. If so, cheers to you and thank you. "No, I have to finish. Now everyone is counting on me." I meant her and our son, and actually them, but you know who I'm talking about. But I need a little more rest. I think maybe I'll drink another third of the bottle. I don't want to be sober when I have to recall what happened on fireworks night. I can't do that sober. "Lie down for a bit. I'll bring dinner in later." She left the room again. I took another gulp. Now I'll try to catch some sleep. Nightmares will surely follow. I lay down, listening to the sounds around the house. My son knocked on the door, asking if he could come in and take a nap with me. Normally, I would say yes, and even though him curling up with his head tucked under my armpit, as he always did, felt comforting, this time I said no. He was sad and knocked again. This time, he said, "Please, Daddy." "Go find Mommy. Daddy's not feeling very well right now." Finally, he gave up and went back to the living room. I heard cars driving by outside. The weather was beautiful but hot. My wife had clearly lied when she said it would rain. I felt relaxed and a little drunk now. Though I preferred Jack Daniels or some spiced rum, the Southern comfort was doing its job well. Soon, I drifted off. Midday naps often brought me vivid dreams, sometimes lucid dreams. If this were a story, perhaps I would have had a terrifying nightmare and described it to you in every detail. But real life doesn't always go as we expect. I hoped I would have a nightmare, but no. In fact, I slept very well. Maybe my wife was right. I wouldn't say I feel better or comfortable with opening up like this, but things aren't as bad as I thought. After waking up, I ate most of the dinner my wife brought in. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was delicious. Glazed chicken, mashed corn, French fries, a can of Coke Zero, and a glass of ice for my drink. While eating, I realized the worst part was July 4th. I was unsure how to tell about it. Every time I dreamt of creaking hinges as a door slowly opened, and then seeing a shadowy figure standing in the doorway watching me, I knew that dream was about July 4th. Damn it, I didn't mean to tell you about that. 1987. It was still July 4th. As the sun set, a 6-year-old child was taken out of the rusty red van. The woman and the little girl led me around. "Ah," the woman said, "this is our home." She pointed to a dilapidated mobile home sitting on concrete blocks. It didn't look pretty from the outside. For the first time in days, I dared to speak. "It's beautiful," I said. "Oh, how cute." In what could be called the front yard, there were several broken-down cars. Most of them had been stripped, doors removed, engines taken out, tires stacked everywhere. One of the vehicles, a school bus, lay on its side with shattered windows and a tree growing through it. There was also an empty dog kennel. Inside was a pile of garbage and old bones. An overturned bucket sat in one corner, and in the other the decomposing body of a large dog, almost covered in maggots, emitting a strong stench that made me want to vomit. Neither the woman nor the little girl said anything. Instead, they led me around to the back of the house. From the back, I could clearly see the surrounding area. We were somewhere in the mountains. I knew about states but couldn't tell which one we were in. I looked around, trying to guess the direction of home, in vain. All I knew was it was very far away. "I bury the bad ones here," the little girl said. I looked in the direction she pointed. Dozens of small graves dotted the backyard. The woman laughed. "This girl," she said, shaking her head. "She can't find a single decent pet. We eat squirrels and rabbits. Who knows how many cats, dogs, mice, hamsters she's buried here. I think there's even a skunk or two." "2 skunks," the girl said. "What?" the woman asked. "2 skunks. If you say so, take it inside and show it the bathroom." The girl took my hand, squeezing it so hard that blood welled up from the wounds on my fingertips. "Wash up," she said. "He doesn't like dirty boys." Inside the mobile home, it was much nicer, as the woman had said. The little girl told me I should take off my shoes. She said I would get in trouble if I got dirt on the carpet, the sofa, the love seat, and the armchairs, which all looked new but were covered in plastic. The TV was on, playing Family Ties. Sometimes my mom let me watch it with her. The walls were painted alternating light brown and cream stripes. The walls were bare, with no pictures or artwork. The only thing that didn't fit was the pile of newspaper clippings covering the coffee table. The little girl led me into the bathroom. The tub was full of water, and a stack of clean clothes was on the sink. "They don't have boy clothes," she said. I looked closely and saw a pink shirt, and the jeans were studded with rhinestones. "You smell like pee," she said, then turned and slammed the door shut. The water in the tub was colder than warm, and using the washcloth was difficult because my fingers ached, but I tried to use my palms and clean myself almost as well as at home. The bathroom door burst open. The man stood there, smirking at me. "Get dressed, kid. If you're good, you'll get to see fireworks after dinner." Dinner was a frozen pot pie heated in the microwave. I wasn't hungry, but tried to eat as best I could. "Do what they say, they'll let me go home," I told myself. The man still smiled, watching me. He saw me staring at the scar on his face. "I can make you smile," he said. I looked down at my unfinished pot pie. "Maybe I will. I'll make you smile just like me," he said. They call it a Glasgow smile, and the bastard tried to do it to me, only got halfway before I gouged his eye out. More iced tea, honey? The woman asked. It was pitch black night now. I was locked in a bedroom. Outside, I heard the crackling of firecrackers and the whistling of rockets. The window was slightly ajar, just enough for me to see the woman and the little girl enjoying themselves outside. Then the first firework exploded, boom, a brilliant blue light engulfed everything. Then the second one exploded, this time blue, purple, and red. For that brief moment, I forgot everything. I was just a child, smiling, watching the fireworks. The next sound I thought was another rocket was actually the bedroom door opening. The next explosion covered the man in gold and red light. The door closed behind him. He took me. I was watching the fireworks. Boom, another explosion. Boom, and another. Somewhere I heard laughter. Somewhere I heard crying. Somewhere someone was being hurt. But right now it didn't matter. I was watching beautiful fireworks. Boom. Monsters are hungry. These shivers are real. Most monsters exist by causing pain and suffering. Some thrive by witnessing the acts of other monsters. Monsters are everywhere. This trembling is real. Maybe one is reading these lines right now. Maybe it's you. If you're out there, know that I'm glad I refused to elaborate on those abuses. Thinking about your nature makes me wish there was a place called hell. I would even visit, stand on the observation deck, eat popcorn, and watch you burn. Hidden monsters. Perhaps there's still time for you to change, to become human before it's too late. Others might pray for your salvation, but I certainly won't, because I know you can't change. And though I wish it weren't true, no matter how much people try to deny it, monsters are real. Be careful of them. Somewhere, stuck between the past, present, and future, is a man with an empty bottle of liquor. He doesn't know how he said what he said, or how he can continue. He can barely see the words through the tears, and his hands tremble so much he can barely type. All he wants is to be held by his wife and child. All he wants is to feel them close, to feel safe again. Just for a moment, just so he can remember that there are still good things in this world. There are still good things in this world, right? Edited at 11:10 a.m., Saturday, June 30, 2012. My head throbs. My first thought is that I should have drunk some water last night, but that's my fault. No one forced me to drink an entire liter bottle of 100 proof liquor. As for what happened last night, it was hard trying to write some parts. It felt like the keys on the laptop were resisting, refusing to be pressed. I don't know how long it took me to get through that section. For those of you who are following live, I feel like you're no longer anonymous observers. Somewhere along this journey, you've become a part of my life story. Some of you helped me recall long-forgotten details. Others shared my pain. Thank you. Late last night, I discovered that my wife was right about the rain. A huge storm swept through our county. The wind was so strong the whole house shook. It sounded like a freight train right outside. I kept worrying that a tornado would come. Secretly, I wished it would. I haven't checked the damage in the yard yet, but we're lucky because many people in the area are living without power on a hot day. At one point, the room was spinning so much I felt like I was going to vomit, so I staggered into the bathroom. Like my first night in 1987, I slept next to the toilet. My wife woke me up and said she was making breakfast. When I got up, I saw the dagger lying on the edge of the bathtub. I was confused, wondering why it was there. While showering, I tried to remember if I had dreamt, and I had. In a car approaching a red light, I pressed the brake, and the car slowed but didn't stop completely. I pressed harder, but the car kept rolling. The brakes weren't working, no matter how hard I stomped. There was a car in front of me that had stopped at the red light. If I didn't get the brakes to work, my car would rear-end it. Even though the car was moving slower than walking speed, I knew the impact would cause a fatal accident with debris and body parts scattered across the intersection. Now I'm in a jail cell. Hundreds of people are crammed in with me. Everyone is pushing and shoving, trying to find space to breathe. A man tries to force me off the small part of the bench I'm sitting on. He threatens to kill me. I hold my ground. Another, larger than all the others, grabs me and pulls me to my knees. I can't do anything as he unbuckles his belt. Now I'm watching TV. It's an old show about a family living on a prairie. I'm trying to remember the show's name, but I can't because my teeth keep falling out. While showering, an idea came to me. At breakfast, scrambled eggs with cheese, tomatoes, ham, a slice of toast, and a cup of coffee with 3 sugars. On the table was an invitation-sized envelope addressed to me. I ignored it. "Daddy," my son asked, "can we do something today? I want to do something." "I don't know, the whole family should do something," I said. "Actually, Daddy has a plan." "Writing again?" my wife asked. "A trip," I replied. "There's a place I need to go." "You said yesterday you wouldn't go anywhere without Mom and me." "Can I go? I want to go," my son said. "That's a good idea, I don't care. Either the whole family goes or you stay home." "Please, Daddy, listen, it's pretty far. It might take a few days of driving. I'm not even sure I can find the place." We argued. She refused to accept my refusal. I'm writing these lines as she's packing for the trip. "You'll have to drive if you want me to keep writing." 1987. It was July 5th. Today was my birthday. I was turning 7. The man and woman were arguing. Something had happened. I was still in the bedroom, and though moving hurt, my clothes were bloody and so was the bed. I still managed to crawl to the door to eavesdrop. "They know we're here, we're done for, can we go to New York?" she said, "and stay with Grace." "So what, go south to Destiny?" I tried the doorknob. It wasn't locked. I peeked the door open just enough to see them standing in the living room, yelling at each other. The morning news was on, and I was confused because on the screen was a picture of the little girl, along with a sketch of the man. "Damn it, Nevada," she screamed. "I don't want to go back there." Now the news showed a van that looked very much like the rusty red one. "Damn it, no, I'll go back there. You do what you want. What about the kids?" she asked. Now the news showed a picture of the little girl again. The text above her head I could read, "Missing girl found." "What about the kids, huh?" she yelled at him. The man crossed his arms. "What do you think, we bury them?" Back to the present, the car is loaded and we're about to leave. There's a place in the mountains that terrifies me, but I know I have to go there. I took the envelope from the kitchen table. I have a feeling this is going to be a very long weekend. Late night, July 1, 2012. We're at a Motel 6. For anyone who missed my previous posts, I've included a link above where you'll find images of a broken man trying to recount the story of his kidnapping for the first time. Anyone who has ever suffered physical, emotional, or sexual abuse may want to skip this part. What you need to know is that I was kidnapped from my home when I was 6 years old. I was tortured by monsters for a week. My wife wanted me to write her a letter, which she thought would help me move past it. I tried to sabotage that effort by posting what I wrote on Reddit. That decision backfired, and now I'm determined to finish the story. I feel compelled to return to that nightmare trailer in the mountains, where most of the abuse occurred. Will it help? I don't know. Everything is different now. I feel strange. My family has been on the road for a day and a half. We haven't reached our destination yet, but we're getting closer. Standard greeting cards are usually printed on high-quality paper called cardstock. Most are rectangular, folded in half, and have a picture or decorative design on the front. Inside, there's usually a pre-printed message along with a space for the sender to add a signature, or, if desired, an additional handwritten note. Some cards also come with matching envelopes. The Greeting Card Association, an international trade organization representing card and stationery manufacturers, wants you to know that the more you spend on a card, the more you show you care. That's why some cards and envelopes use elaborate materials like glitter, gold leaf, and ribbon. Some even make sounds. Standard greeting cards are made for almost every occasion. Birthdays, thinking of you, apologies, thank yous, graduations, new baby, funerals, new home, baptisms, sympathy, new job, Christmas, Valentine's Day, get well soon, Thanksgiving, Halloween, jerk, New Year's, St. Patrick's Day, friendship, love, weddings, anniversaries, retirement, congratulations, invitations. They are also subdivided by recipient, age, relationship, tone, and race. Beyond all those options, they come in every printable color you can imagine. On the way to the first motel, while waiting for a freight train to pass, I finally opened the envelope addressed to me. The front read, "Get well soon." There was a picture of an old woman with a thermometer in her mouth and her hands on her stomach. I opened the card and took out the $5 bill I knew for sure would be inside. The inside read, "Maybe you should have some soup or try licking a scoop of ice cream. Hope you get well soon, and I'll never tell that you're suffering because you can't poop." No message, no signature. Every year I receive a card like this. They're always different. The only commonality is that the card never has a signature or handwritten message and always contains a $5 bill, which I know is the real message. Throughout the years, I've tried my best to bury my past, but I've suffered a lifetime of this kind of harassment. I crumpled the $5 bill, rolled down the car window, and threw it out. I watched as the wind carried it away. I was furious, but not everything was bad. The bright side was that I had another card to add to the box at home. Since there was no personal message or signature, I'd retaliate against the greeting card association by reusing them. Who knows, maybe someday I'll have a Mexican granddaughter, and I can give her a cute quinceañera card, reminding her to always practice safe sex. Almost 1 a.m. We arrived at the same motel where my kidnappers stayed in 1987. Aside from stops for restrooms, gas, and food, we had been driving for 15 hours. My wife and son were exhausted. I wished I was too. The night manager handed me the key to room 19. As I passed the old soda and ice machines, my hands grew cold. I wondered if I was about to enter the exact same room from that year. Inside, everything was old and outdated. The TV was an old tube model with 2 knobs, one to select channels 1 to 13 VHF and the other for the higher VHF band. I tried to turn it on, but couldn't. On the table was a Yellow Pages phone book. A Gideon Bible lay in the nightstand drawer. Nothing else remarkable. Clearly, this room hadn't changed since the last time I was here. Based on the style of the lamps and the shag carpet, I guessed the place hadn't been renovated since the mid-1970s. No memories were triggered when I was here. I felt nothing. "You want to stay here," my wife said. "We just passed a Holiday Inn, we could go back." "Does that one have a pool?" my son mumbled, his eyes barely open. "I want to swim." Then he closed his eyes and went back to sleep. "Because you really wanted to soak in a hot tub?" I sighed. She didn't know anything about my past, only trusting that I would tell her when I was ready. Not now, I told myself. I needed her as a pillar, someone I could cling to while trying to figure things out. But I had to say something, otherwise our being here wouldn't make sense. This is one of the places they took me to. While searching for something in her purse, she suddenly stopped and slowly looked at me. She searched for something on my face, waiting for me to say more, but I said nothing. Just that was enough. Her shoulders slumped. "Oh, then we'll stay here." But we didn't stay. My wife gently placed our sleeping son in the travel crib we had brought. She quickly showered, put on her bathrobe, and brushed her hair. I watched her do all that through the window while smoking outside the room. She opened the door and kissed me. "Love you, good night." "Love you too," I replied. "Don't stay up too late." "I won't." I silently thanked her for not mentioning my smoking. I didn't smoke, or rather, I hadn't smoked in a very long time. I just wanted to calm myself. Normally, I would turn to alcohol, but last time that hadn't gone well. About 15 minutes after my wife fell asleep, I opened my laptop to go online. First, I double-checked my planned route. Then I went to the No Sleep subreddit, hoping to find some encouragement. There's no way to describe how grateful I am for the support I've received there. I answered a few questions and considered some criticisms. I felt better. Then I saw this line. "Hey kid coming to see me," posted by the man from 1987. I had to use all my strength not to throw the laptop at the wall. I took a deep breath, held it, and slowly exhaled, but it didn't help. Around 3 a.m., I couldn't hold it in anymore and had to go to the bathroom. How long had I avoided going in there? Damn it, I peed in the dark. Only when I was done did I turn on the light to see the spot where I used to be chained, where the woman had hit me, where the little girl had laughed at me, and oh God, I just remembered where the man had first touched me. I stood in front of the mirror, maybe for a minute or maybe for an hour, staring at myself. I'll kill you, kid," I repeated twice what he had said to me. Then I started kicking the toilet. I kicked until the tank cracked. I tore down the shower curtain rod and used it to smash the mirror. I heard crying from the next room, but I was too busy trying to break the drain pipe under the sink to care. I was doing things I wished I could have done when I was 6. Then I felt hands grabbing me, trying to restrain my arms, loving hands wanting me to stop. Finally, after how long I stopped. "We can go now," I said, panting. Without explanation, I gave the night manager a $700 check and wrote my phone number on a piece of paper at the front desk. He was understandably confused and asked me why. I shook my head and shrugged. 25 years of bad luck, I said. I drove for a few more hours while my family slept. Night driving was very relaxing for me. The highways were mostly empty, and that freedom made me want to speed. I thought about my 1987 birthday and the game they made me play. I was going nearly 90 mph when the first rays of sunlight pulled me back to reality. I saw the name of the next exit and realized I had somehow gone off course. I had left the highway and taken a shortcut. Let's call it a subconscious detour. I took the exit and headed towards a Motel 6 on the edge of town. It was time for me to sleep. Tomorrow morning, after a good breakfast, I think I'll be able to continue writing about the past. Although I've never been to the place ahead, I know its name. A little girl I once knew lived here long before she enjoyed tormenting and killing animals. She stood before me, her head tilted as if she didn't understand something. Tears streamed from her eyes, just like from mine. The dress she wore had crimson bloodstains in the same places as my clothes. I tried to say something but couldn't utter a word. She reached out her hand to me, palm facing up. Her fingertips had the same scars as mine. I wish I had known that we were alike. I wish things had happened differently. I wish it had been her instead of me. Neither of us was completely ruined, but she was forced to bend more to survive. She faded into the black flames of other nightmares, still waiting to be experienced. 1987. The little girl and I were told to stand opposite each other. The woman said they needed to leave soon, but first, we needed to play a birthday game. "Why didn't you tell us it was your birthday today?" she said. "I would have baked you a cake." The man pushed her away. "Shut up, Sally." "Which one do you choose?" I guess she just pointed at us one by one. "Minnie, Mo." Her finger stopped on me. "This kid." "Okay, I choose the girl, so what's the bet?" he asked. $5, and the loser has to do the dishes for a month. A god deal. They both spit on their hands and shook hands. Meanwhile, the little girl just stared at me with empty eyes. "Should we sing Happy Birthday?" she asked. He ignored her and knelt down in front of us. "Listen up now, this is important." He held a gun in each hand. Both the little girl and I stared at him. "This is a little game I made up called Junkie Roulette. The rules aren't as simple as regular roulette, but I'm sure you two will catch on quickly. Understand? Nod if you understand." I nodded. The little girl didn't. This made him shift his unwanted attention from me and focus entirely on her. "I haven't even told you the rules yet, and you're already causing trouble." "But I was good, Uncle. You said if I was good." The man grabbed the little girl by the neck and squeezed. Only when her eyes started rolling back did he let go. She fell to the ground, and he slapped her hard across the face. "Get up, honey," the woman said. "We can't keep it anymore." "Now where was I?" he said. "Ah, the rules. Each of you has a gun just like, what's that game called? The one with the funny dog." "Duck hunt," she replied. "That's it, duck hunt. Anyway, there are 2 guns, and each gun has only 1 bullet. Understand? Nod if you understand." Both the little girl and I nodded. "Good, I choose the girl, so you choose. Which of these 2 do you want?" He held out both guns, and the little girl pointed to the one on the right. "All right, here you go, kid," he said. "This one's yours." I held the gun in my hand. Like I said, each gun has only 1 bullet. We don't know which chamber the bullet is in. "Sally, spin the cylinder." The woman took the gun from my hand. She opened it somehow, spun the cylinder hard once, then closed it and handed the gun back to me, and did the same with the little girl's gun. "Now, you two have 2 choices. Either point the gun at the other person." He illustrated by grabbing the little girl's hand and raising it until the barrel was pressed against the center of my chest, or point it at your own head. Now he grabbed my hand and bent it, making the barrel of my gun press against my temple. "What a sight I was," he laughed wildly. "It's been a long time since we've seen this game played," the woman said. "So far, so good. Now you two take turns pulling the trigger. Since the girl chose the gun," he said to the little girl, "the kid goes first." I heard a click. The little girl had just pulled the trigger while the gun was still pointed at my chest. "Damn it," he screamed. "Don't you have any respect for the rules?" "You would have done the same thing," the woman said. "Maybe, but if it doesn't play by the rules, I'll stomp its head in with my boot." He grabbed the little girl's hand, and suddenly a blowtorch appeared in his hand. He pressed the flame against her arm, and she screamed in pain. I still held the gun to my head while her screams echoed. Don't pull the trigger again until I tell you. Now, here's how the rewards and punishments work. Listen carefully. If you pull the trigger while pointing it at someone else and nothing happens, you get the blowtorch. That hurts, doesn't it? You don't want the blowtorch. Certainly not, the woman said. But if you point the gun at your own head and nothing happens, you get this. He held up a small glass tube. Inside were white crystals that looked like sugar. Good stuff. It makes the pain disappear instantly. One puff and you'll forget everything. Remember that. Any questions? It's your turn, kid. Point it at the girl or at yourself, then pull the trigger. That's all. I didn't understand anything he said. I looked at the blistering burn on the little girl's hand, and all I could think was how much it hurt. I had burned my leg on the heater when I was 4, and I knew a blowtorch would be much worse. The gun was still pointed at my head. You can point it at the girl, or pull the trigger like that, understand, kid? I didn't want to get burned, so I pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. Yeah, the woman screamed. Shut up, Sally, the game's not over yet. Here, kid, take a hit, just a little. He lit the blowtorch to the crystals in the glass tube and then held it to my lips. I inhaled just a little as he told me. It tasted like burning plastic and made my throat burn. I coughed violently. Then, I don't want to explain. Suddenly, I felt like when I was first thrown into the van. The comforting and loving sensation of death flooded my small body. That's how you play junkie roulette, he said with a crooked smile. Now, if you want the medicine for your burns, little girl, you have to point the gun at your own head and pull the trigger. Otherwise, you get burned again. Without hesitation, the little girl pointed the gun at me and pulled the trigger. Click. Still looking straight ahead, expressionless, the little girl held out her hand to him. He burned her hand again, another mark. She trembled and gritted her teeth, but this time she didn't scream. She was brave. Your turn, kid, choose. I smelled her burning flesh. I didn't want that. Why suffer burns when you could feel happy? I pointed the gun at my own head again. Click. Damn it, Sally, he said while holding the glass tube to my lips again. You should just give me the $5 already. Go, kid, the woman said. Click, the little girl was burned a third time. Click, I got more medicine. Here, honey, the woman said to the little girl. Why don't you do it the other way? Mom knows your hand must hurt a lot now. Shut up, Sally, don't try to cheat, the man said. I'm not cheating. Yes, you are, go on now. Click, the little girl was burned again. This time she screamed, and I was now sitting on the floor, looking at the carpet fibers. I wondered what it would be like to be an ant, when everything is so much bigger and smarter than you. Your turn, kid, go. I had seen the little girl point the gun at me so many times that I started to think I was playing wrong, so this time I pointed the gun at her and pulled the trigger. Click. The man grabbed my hand and held up the blowtorch. I saw the hair on my arm singe, and my skin started sizzling. It made me tickle. All right, little girl, you have 2 fires left. You can take a dose for the pain or risk another burn. The little girl looked at me. I could see she was considering something. Clearly, she understood this game much better than I did. She brought the gun to her head, thought for a moment, then pointed it back at me. Click. I saw her get burned again, but this time she smiled as if she knew something I didn't. I pointed the gun at my head. I pointed it at the little girl, then back at myself. I was mimicking what she did to me. This didn't matter. I just didn't want to look like I didn't understand how to play. I aimed the gun at her chest. Crack. She fell back, a cloud of pink blood mist lingering in the air. I looked at the smoking barrel of the gun, wondering what had just happened. Her legs slowly kicked up and down. I heard her trying to say something, repeating, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Damn it, the man screamed. I saw him open his wallet. He took out the $5 bill and handed it to the laughing woman. The little girl stopped saying sorry. Sorry for what? I wondered. Her legs stopped moving. Then she stopped breathing. All of this happened while the man and woman took turns bringing the glass tube to their lips and inhaling. I walked over and looked down at the hole in her chest. A pool of blood was spreading on the carpet, so I took a step back, not wanting my bare feet to get wet. Morning, July 2, 2012. The first thing I did was call the office to say I wouldn't be coming in today. The phone was picked up after 2 rings. I coughed loudly, then groaned. Sorry, I said. It's me, I know I'm late. I don't think I can make it to the office this morning. Still sick. I didn't mention I was hundreds of miles away. I was wondering where you were. Feeling any better? Not really. Ah, darned. I can handle things here. Take some more time off. You sound awful. Thanks, and don't come in tomorrow either. I don't want to catch whatever you have. Thanks again. I was just about to ask. No problem. See you Wednesday. Wednesday is the 4th, right? Oh, okay. Then I'll see you Thursday. Can you help me with the books? My birthday, personal holiday, you're killing me, he laughed. You know that, right? I couldn't help but laugh too, momentarily forgetting my sick role. Friday? He asked, knowing the answer. Hey, Roger, I said. Do you remember what you did with Cringer? What? Nothing, forget it, I said, still laughing. I'll see you when I get back. When I get well. Take care. I hung up before he could answer. Since my wife was still asleep, I decided to open Minecraft and play for a while. Instead of building anything, I spent the whole time destroying the structures I had spent weeks building. After I was satisfied with the destruction, I dug a very deep hole, deep enough until I fell into an underground cave. The fall didn't kill my character, so I kept digging until I finally found a lava pit and died. Checking the feedback from these posts had become a habit. I answered the questions I could. However, some I left unanswered because there are things that shouldn't be said without context. Again, I saw a response from the man from 1987. This time, he said he knew where I was and threatened to find my family. But I knew his game. He would continue to drop vague hints based on what I had written, or he would assert things he shouldn't know. This time, he claimed to know the town I was in. He said he remembered eating at a very good barbecue place. We were in the mountains, where barbecue is one of the most popular foods. It wouldn't be hard to guess that. Yet, for all the reasons to believe this person was clearly just spouting nonsense, not to mention I knew what had happened to that man. Fool! I still called down to the front desk and asked the girl working if there was a barbecue place in the area. No, she said. Thanks, I said, relieved. I think there used to be, but it closed down years ago. I just hung up. Damn it, you bastard, damn you! My morning was now ruined. I told my wife we were leaving. I just wanted to make a quick stop and then we need to get back on the road. I turned onto a small road that led to a cul-de-sac. I saw the house, the second on the left, a split-level 2-story with an attached garage. The yard was well kept, next to a rose bush and a bird bath. There was a ceramic gnome wearing a perfectly red hat. I like those gnomes. I parked in front of the house and stared at it. My wife also looked. In the back seat, my son was playing with the teddy bear I had won from the claw machine at the diner this morning. The pancakes weren't very good. My love, my wife said, is this where they held you? Oh, I replied, just loud enough to be heard over the radio. I just need a moment. A song had just caught my attention, and I needed to listen to it before deciding what to do next. I turned the volume up 3 more notches, then closed my eyes, letting myself be absorbed by the music. My heart ached because after the storm, so many things were broken beyond repair. When the song ended, I hugged my wife for a long time. Thank you for being here with me. I couldn't do this without you. Walking up to the door, I tried to think of something to say. If this were a story, I would have a speech prepared. I would know exactly what to say when the door opened. But this wasn't a story, and my mind was blank. I hesitated, wondering if this was a good idea, but that didn't stop me from pressing the doorbell. A woman answered the door. I knew she was in her mid-50s, but even with her black hair streaked with silver, she looked much younger. Hello, ma'am, I said. Hello, young man, she smiled. Can I help you? I didn't know what to say. I just wanted to ask. I'm sorry, she said, her smile vanishing. You need to leave. I don't talk to reporters. But I tried to speak as she closed the door. Back in the car, I was utterly disappointed. Why had I come here? What did I hope to achieve? I messed up, I said. Who was that woman? My wife asked. That was Jennifer. I knew her daughter, I replied. This is the house she lived in when they took her. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I called her the little girl, but she wasn't that little. She was strong, resilient, and brave. I bowed my head, remembering all the horrible things she had to do. She did what she had to, I said. She was only 12 when she died. Tears welled up in my wife's eyes. I don't understand how people can be so cruel to each other. Oh my God. I took my wife's hand as I drove away from the house. Her name was Rebecca Harn, I said. I think if she had survived, she would have looked a lot like you. When tragedy strikes, some people will scream, "Why, God, why?" Others will try to reassure themselves by saying it's all part of a grand plan, that everything happens for a reason, that nothing happens that God doesn't want. But what kind of God has a plan where innocent children are used and discarded like trash, while the faithful cry out for salvation? There are those who argue that a higher power would never allow something like a 12-year-old girl being shot in the chest by another child, especially if that girl was pregnant. God doesn't exist, or perhaps God is dead, they declare. Personally, I think they're all wrong. I believe God is alive and well. I believe he's just a bored author writing stories, trying to create a perfect collection. When finished, it will be something that makes him experience every emotion at once for all eternity. Our problem is that he doesn't know we're real beings. After all, aren't we just his creations? Joy and pain are just plot devices to move the story along. Life and death are simply ways to introduce or remove characters. Wars, famine, mass murders, even the Great Flood, that's just God editing mistakes, filling plot holes, and removing ideas that didn't go as he hoped. Surely, when he's done and everything is tied up in a pretty bow, it will look like he planned it that way from the beginning. As for us, whatever choices we make, there are no consequences that affect him. We can be erased at any time. This is how I choose to see the world. This is why I don't beg for mercy. I know I'll only get it if it makes sense for the story. Back in 1987, I was given a birthday present to play with while the man was busy cutting off the little girl's arms and legs. He said it was to prevent the body from being identified. "Come on, give her a kiss, honey," the woman said, then she laughed manically. "Go on now, understand, ahead." I picked up the little girl's head from my lap and tried to kiss her on the mouth. I didn't want to do it and felt like I was going to throw up. Honestly, I didn't think playing with someone's head was a fun game, but I pretended to be happy because I didn't want my head to be chopped off next. "Hey, Sally, there's a car coming up the road. Go see who it is." The woman grabbed one of the now loaded guns and tucked it into the back of her pants. She cracked open the front door and looked out. "It's Tommy," she shouted over the sound of a chainsaw. "Then see what he wants," the man said, annoyed. "Hey, Tommy," she yelled. "What's up, honey?" I heard footsteps on the porch outside the trailer. The woman didn't open the door all the way, just enough to stick her head out. "There's trouble," a voice said. It was the man they called Tommy. "We know, we saw the news. What's worse than that?" "The deputy is sniffing around," he said. "A truck driver identified him from the sketch." "Damn it, wait a minute," she turned back and yelled. "Hey, that stupid truck driver?" She stuck her head out the door again. "What did you say to him?" I heard the man mutter something while the woman was talking to Tommy. I thought it was safe to stop playing with the little girl's head. I pushed it under the coffee table, hoping she would forget about making me kiss it. But instead of being hidden, it left a long blood trail as it slid across the floor, which I thought would be hard to miss if someone was looking for a missing body part. I told him I didn't see anyone matching the description. He wanted to search around here, but I told him the ridge and the whole mountain were private property of the Access Foundation, so he left. "Yeah, for now, but I think he'll get a warrant. Thanks for the heads up. Now scram. Hey, I'm done with my part. Now you drag your sick husband and both of you get out of here." "I love you too." "Get lost, Tommy," he replied. I heard the car speed away. The woman closed the door and sat on the sofa. "Damn cops," she said to me. "Hey, where's the head?" Late afternoon, July 22, 2012. We were about 200 miles from our last restroom stop. I turned into a barbecue place. I don't know why, but I suddenly craved barbecue. My meal consisted of a pulled pork sandwich with coleslaw on top. The side was hand-cut fries, fried in peanut oil, sprinkled with a generous amount of sea salt and a few drops of vinegar. I washed it down with a can of cheerwine, the best beverage ever invented. The food was delicious, but the server wasn't friendly at all. I guess they didn't like out-of-towners, which was understandable. Overall, I'd rate the experience an A. If I'm ever on this route again, I might stop here. After lunch, I checked into a small motel. It was small, but the room was very clean. I felt lucky to see they had HBO and a gym a few doors down. I tried watching an episode of Game of Thrones on demand, but just a few minutes after turning it on, I saw a head impaled on a spike. I didn't want to see that right now. I turned off the TV. My wife was sitting on the bed next to me and screamed when I changed the channel, but only half-jokingly. I looked over and saw my son taking another nap in his crib, silently. I kissed my wife and unbuttoned the back of her dress. I felt the pressure building in my pants as her hand slipped inside. I wanted her more than anything. She moaned softly as I entered her from behind. The mountain was not far now, only one more place I needed to visit before finishing the last leg of the trip, the truck stop. Edited, added late update July 2, 2012. I think I'm losing my mind. What I saw was impossible. It couldn't be him. No, he was dead and rotting somewhere, but I swear I saw him. I would swear it in court. I tried to rationalize the impossible. Surely it was just my nerves. I thought all the memories flooding my mind had brought along ghosts of the past. There was really no other logical explanation. But he had. His skin was wrinkled and tanned. His once smooth face was now covered by a thick beard, but underneath I caught a glimpse of the scar of a failed Glasgow smile. His previously short black hair was now long, slicked back, and tied into a tight ponytail. As the madness crept in, time seemed to slow. I watched him. His eyes scanned from left to right, scrutinizing everyone who passed by. Then he saw me. Our eyes met, and in that moment I knew. This happened when we stopped at a truck stop. We parked in front of the convenience store, but calling it a convenience store was funny. The sign outside advertised XX movies and so-called viewing booths, small cubicles with TVs showing pornographic videos. To put it bluntly, it was a place for men to relieve themselves for a small fee before continuing their day. Although I've never been inside, I've heard that most booths have a small hole through which some men would insert their penises, hoping for oral sex from someone in the adjacent booth. If that's what satisfies you, who am I to judge? Instead of writing about what specifically happened here, I felt more comfortable recounting what I remembered to her as we sat together in the car. Really, this story belongs more to Rebecca than to me. Perhaps that's why it's easier to talk about. The dead need someone to speak for them, so I will speak for her. They said they needed money, I told my wife. The kidnappers. Yes. Were they going to rob the store? I'm sure they would have if they needed to, but they didn't have to. They had Rebecca, but she was only 12 and I was only 6. I don't want to hear about this, she said, then immediately realized the implication of that statement. I didn't mean it like that. I meant, I wish this had never happened. Forgive me. I smiled. Always, I told her. I looked in the back seat. Hey, son, are you okay? Yes, Daddy. Mommy and Daddy are going into the store for a bit, okay? We can't leave him in the car, my wife said. I wouldn't talk about this in front of him. I turned and smiled at my son. It'll only be a few minutes. You won't cry, will you? Want some cookies? Sure. After buying Charlie a pack of Oreos, which he quickly tore open and started eating, my wife and I held hands and walked past the large trucks, some with trailers, others empty. All the while, we kept our eyes on our car, and with the windows down, we could hear if our son called out. Countless trucks stopped and left. Tourists filled their tanks and departed. They never looked around. They didn't really know what kind of place this was. As the sun began to set, I felt the same sense of danger I had experienced in 1987. This place hadn't changed, I thought. Places like this never change. As I walked, I tried to find my voice again. That man, that monster. He led us through the parked trucks just like we're walking now, and you should know that this wasn't uncommon, soliciting truck drivers. Anyway, when drivers arrive after a long journey to rest, they often want to unwind. I stopped and looked at her, making sure she had no questions. Sometimes a man can see what he wants to see, so if someone says he has a 16-year-old girl who wants to be a companion for a while and it only costs a few dollars, they probably won't ask many questions. But there are others, monsters who don't care or even prefer children. I sighed. It's wrong, and many of them end up in jail, but in a sick, hellish place like this, that's just how it is. After dark, this is no longer a truck stop, but a human slaughterhouse where people are bought and sold. Humans are trafficked. So they sold her to those men. Temporarily, yes. By then, they had trained her not to say anything. Thinking back to how many trucks I saw her get into that night makes me sick to my stomach. I'm not sure how to continue. We stopped by a vending machine in front of the store where I bought a cold soda. I twisted open the Pepsi lid and took a few long gulps. After I finished, I handed the bottle through the car window to Charlie. He had finished his cookies. Even after all this, I still found it hard to keep talking, but I said, if she hadn't been forced to do those things that night, neither of us would have escaped them. We stood outside the car. It was getting darker, and people continued to come and go. I wondered how many of them had children. Did they protect them? If everyone protected their families, if everyone spoke up or did the right thing. One of the truck drivers, I said. He paid $15 for Rebecca to get into his truck. He didn't object to having a 16-year-old girl understand. By state law, even though prostitution is a crime, I agree consensual sex is 16. But he wasn't blinded by his needs. Once Rebecca was in his truck, he questioned her until she told the truth about her age and her name, Rebecca Harn. The truck driver grabbed a tire iron and climbed out of his cab, intending to kill that man, but the man was faster. He blocked the blow with his hand and stabbed the truck driver in the chest with a switchblade. Someone witnessed the whole thing. He stabbed the driver 2 more times before grabbing us and fleeing. The woman had already started the car, so they made a clean getaway. The truck driver didn't die. No, he managed to tell the police the girl's name and describe the scar before I happened to look up, and my heart stopped. No, my love, get in the car now. What? She asked, confused. Get in the car now. Just seconds later, I was speeding down the highway. My wife screamed at me to slow down. I changed lanes constantly, passing other cars at twice the speed limit. All the while, my hand reached into the center console, rummaging through a pile of fallen papers, Bop It, Jack, and other unimportant things. Finally, I felt the handle of the Smith & Wesson revolver. It was the same model gun I held in my hand when Rebecca was killed. I told myself this couldn't be real. It was his brother or cousin, or just a stranger who looked like him. That's all it was. It had to be. He was dead. He had been dead for a long time, truly dead. We didn't go back to the motel. We didn't stop until I was sure he couldn't have followed us. It wasn't him, I said. It couldn't have been. My son cried and my wife yelled at me. I nodded. I'm sorry, I said that I was sorry that I had made a stupid mistake. I know. The words spilling from my mouth were, I'll never drive that fast again when they're in the car. I promised, truly. But what they didn't know was that I had been taught how to be a master at ignoring everything. With all the yelling they were doing, the crying and pleading, all I heard was a ringing in my head, and now I wasn't sure of anything. Maybe I really had made a mistake. After all, I had been through so much. Most people would crumble under this kind of pressure, right? At least that's what everyone always said, that I was strong, I was brave, I was a survivor. But that was Rebecca. Rebecca was the one like that. I was weak. I was a coward. I was prey. I was a guy who might have just lost his mind. What I saw couldn't be real. Even if he was somehow still alive, which was impossible, there was no way he could know where I would be at any given time. No way. Only my wife, my son, and I knew that. Except that was a lie. I had been constantly updating my location for the past 4 days. Please, God, if you're out there, please help me. 12:12 a.m., July 3, 2012. I'm taking the risk that what I saw wasn't real when I say this. We're heading towards the mountain. I'll find a safe place to stop and rest as we get closer. The pistol is loaded, and I'm in a killing mood. I will protect my family. Do you hear me? Am I being clear? I will not let them be harmed. Never. I know I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, he'll know where to find us. Dismembered bodies. Car accidents in slow motion. Funerals. Cold, lifeless hands. Burning wreckage, drowning animals. Screams, melted, smooth faces, the rusty red van, a card for any occasion. Cold, prison bars, abuse, bloody fingerprints. Screams. Early morning, July 3, 2012. I woke up drenched in sweat. The gun was still in my hand. The darkness had receded enough for me to see the trees surrounding the car. It was time to keep moving. The thought of my wife and son being gone quickly turned to terror, to maddening fear. I looked back and forth, from the empty passenger seat to the child's seat in the back, then back to the passenger seat, unable to believe they were no longer there. How had he found us? I jumped out of the car, spinning around, looking into the surrounding woods, trying to find some sign of which way he had taken them. I saw movement. A shadow emerged from behind a tree stump. I wanted to scream, but I was panting, my whole body paralyzed from the waist up. The shadow wasn't, they were more than one, approaching me. I knelt down on my knees and squeezed my eyes shut. "Just quickly," I begged. "Please, just quickly." "What are you doing?" my wife asked. I opened my eyes to see my wife and son walking towards me. I jumped up and ran to them. I hugged my son and kissed his cheek. I wrapped my arms around my wife and held her tightly, but she didn't return the hug. "Charlie needed to go to the bathroom. We didn't want to wake you." "I was so scared," I said. "Don't ever leave me like that again." I tried to take her hand, but she gently pulled it away. I knew she was still angry from last night, so I gave her some space. I took my son from her arms and led him back to the car. In the United States, a baby is born every 7 seconds. That's 12,443 births every day. On one ordinary day, among those 12,000 births, one of those babies was mine, and somehow I knew I was blessed with the most amazing child. He was tiny in my arms. I was afraid to hold him, but he wasn't afraid of me, not at all. When I first touched him, he barely made a sound. When I fed him, his eyes opened and looked around attentively, intelligently, wanting to learn about this world full of possibilities. His eyes were winter green, just like his mother's. "We'll call you Charlie," I said. I held his tiny hand. "Nice to meet you, Charlie." It was, without a doubt, the best day of my life. At breakfast at a small diner in the town at the foot of the mountain, I sat and looked out the window. I wasn't eating. I wasn't hungry. I knew which mountain peak it was, and although I knew the clearing with the mobile home was on the other side, I still imagined I could see it as the morning fog momentarily cleared. The mountains looked peaceful, an unreal quality emanating from them, as if they existed only in a dream. My wife sat opposite me. She hadn't said a word to me since we left the woods at dawn. I sighed. She didn't notice or didn't care. "I'm sorry," I said. "You can't just be silent forever, not reacting. Please talk to me," I pleaded. When she looked up, I could see she was truly upset and my heart broke. My wife had a special innocence. When she looked at me, I wished I could shield her from every drop of sorrow she had ever experienced. I wanted to bear all her fears, all her unhappiness. I would take it all just to see her smile again. "You promised you would never drive like that again with us in the car," she said. I could hear her trying to suppress her anger. "I'm sorry," I said. "I don't know what else to say." The waitress approached and asked if I was ready to order. "Get lost," I snapped. The waitress startled, a little frightened by the sudden outburst. I watched her retreat to the counter while my wife spoke loudly. "Don't take it out on her," my wife yelled. "It's not her fault, she stopped. "Charlie, cover your ears, honey." He did. You're a bastard, you know." "I know," I whispered. "This is why I have to drive. You can't control yourself. You're always speeding. Don't you care about anyone?" She buried her head in her hands, enduring the reprimand I knew I deserved. "What the hell happened last night? One minute you were fine, the next you were shoving me into the car and driving like a maniac. And the gun, when did you get that gun?" she asked, lowering her voice. She glanced to make sure Charlie still had his ears covered. "A damn gun." She stopped yelling, and I realized she was waiting for me to answer. "I thought I saw someone. That man," I said. "I thought I saw him." "Listen," she said, her voice returning to normal. "I know this is hard for you. You're always thinking about it, always writing about it. All of this was my idea, but we're here for you. Please don't push us away, and don't put us in any more danger than necessary, okay?" "I love you," I said, reaching out my hand. She took it. "I love you too, but from now on I'm driving." Back in 1987, I was in the backyard of the mobile home. The woman took my hand and led me towards a small metal shed. The man was carrying a large garbage bag on his hip. Inside, I knew, was the little girl. Not all of her. Just her arms, legs, and torso. I didn't know what the man had done with her hands, feet, and head. "What a waste of time, damn it," he said to the woman. Chopping them up isn't easy, you know. I heard Tommy. That deputy is coming back, sure as cow dung. No time to get the kid properly squared away either. I'm all worn out anyway, the man complained, wiping sweat from his brow with a bloody hand. He unlocked the shed door. The woman pushed me inside. There was a rocking chair covered in a plastic sheet. I saw a red radio flyer wagon, but it was missing a wheel. Rusty tools hung from small hooks on the ceiling. Old glass soda bottles sat on shelves mounted to the walls. Everything was covered in dust. Surprisingly, the shed smelled of roses, like the kind my mom grew in our backyard. "Hey, kid," the man said. "Do you know that if you play Stairway to Heaven backwards, there's a hidden message?" I shrugged. I knew nothing about a backwards stairway. "Where?" the woman asked. She knelt down and lifted up an old, tattered rug. Beneath it was a steel plate. She took a pry bar from a shelf and inserted the small end under the steel plate. As she pushed back, struggling with its weight, the corner of the plate popped up enough for the man to grab and lift the rest. Beneath the steel plate was a gaping black hole. The smell of roses suddenly became stronger. The man ripped open the garbage bag and threw the little girl's body parts down the hole, then threw the bag down after them. "All right, Sally, you won the bet, so you deal with the kid," he said. "How do you want to do it? Quick and clean or slow and messy?" "I swear, sometimes you're such an idiot. I don't have time for a bath. We have to go now. Give me the needle." He handed her the bag containing the syringe. "There's enough drug in that vial to kill a buffalo. When you're done, meet me in the van. I'll finish cleaning up." He ruffled my hair as he walked out of the shed. "Goodbye, kid." As he left, the woman took the syringe and drew the liquid from the vial. She plunged the needle into my arm, but didn't press down on the plunger. "Don't worry," she said. "You have friends waiting for you down there." I felt the burning liquid flow into my arm. Everything went black. I felt like I was floating, and I knew the woman had kicked me down into the black hole, the hole that smelled of roses and was full of bodies. The last thing I heard was the thud of the steel plate falling back into place. Edited at 4:10 p.m., written at the ranger station. A psychopath is someone who uses a combination of charm, intimidation, and sometimes violence to manipulate or control others. Psychopathic personality traits include, but are not limited to, glibness, superficial charm, pathological lying, and a grandiose sense of self-worth. They lack remorse, are unable to empathize with others, and don't take responsibility for their actions. However, they can easily feign these qualities. Often, psychopaths are very intelligent, but they are also dangerous due to their impulsivity and antisocial behavior. The most notorious criminals are often psychopaths. They cannot be rehabilitated. They will never change. Although many serial killers, rapists, and torturers are psychopaths, it may surprise some to learn that being a psychopath doesn't necessarily make someone evil. Some of them are perfectly functional individuals who know they have a problem, but instead of always using that state for selfish purposes, they adhere to a principle of feigning normalcy to fit into modern society. If you suspect someone is a psychopath, the best course of action is to cut off all contact with them, even if they are high-functioning or claim to be rehabilitated or in therapy. Failure to do so risks getting caught in a web of chaos and destruction. While I despise the people who ruin my life, I have to admit there's an admirable allure to them. Imagine if you could possess the traits that make them unconcerned, driven, and able to achieve what they want without worrying about how they get there. The only negative or downside I can see to being a psychopath is their inability to turn it off when not needed. Oh, the good that could be done, the wrongs that could be righted if someone could turn that state on and off. What would they become? My wife drove the car along the potholed road leading up the mountain, through the black fog, until we saw the turnoff for the ranger station. She turned left, and ahead was the ranger station. It was a small wooden cabin on a gravel lot. All the parking spots were empty except for one. She parked next to the parked SUV, a GMC Terrain. On the back window was a symbol I had never seen before. Below the symbol was the stylized text, AF. To the right of the ranger station, right next to the entrance, was a large green sign with white text that read, "No trespassing, Black Fog Mountain, private hunting and fishing preserve, managed and owned by Access Foundation, Destiny, NV, no trespassing." My phone rang. It was Roger. "Are you going to answer it?" my wife asked. Watch your surroundings, I'll just be a moment. I took the call and raised the phone to my ear. Hey, what's up, Roger? I was no longer pretending to be sick. Actually, I was only half pretending before. Oh my God, are you okay? Why aren't you saying anything? What? I don't know what you're talking about. Listen, the police just stopped by here looking for you. I didn't believe him, so I had to check for myself. Roger, calm down, Roger. You're not telling me anything, for God's sake. Why not? Why not? Roger, I yelled. I glanced at my wife. She was frowning, clearly not understanding what was happening. She was confused. I thought. Damn it, I'm hearing both sides of the story and I don't even understand it. Now, calm down and tell me from the beginning what happened. It's about the house. Which house? My house, they said they're investigating. Investigating what? The police said they don't know if it was arson, and they want your number, but I didn't give it to them. You know, company policy, but you should call them right away. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You mean my house burned down? Is that what you're trying to say? Yes, I'm saying your house burned down. No, not entirely, but almost. Yes, you're saying you didn't know anything. I'm out of town, I said, my voice flat, emotionless, as if this were just an unfunny joke. Sorry, I had to lie. This isn't a joke, is it? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's not a joke, I swear. I didn't mean to be the one to break this news to you. If it happened while you were gone, I'm surprised the insurance company hasn't contacted you. My son started whimpering in the back seat. He said he wanted his toys. He didn't want them burned in the fire. My wife turned to wipe his tears, and I heard her tell him it was okay, that they would buy him new, even better toys. Damn it, I said. Everything is under my wife's number. I gestured for her to check her phone. We should have received a call. She shrugged and mouthed, left it at home. I sighed. Oh, Roger, so call them, the police too. I can't handle this right now. The house is insured. It's just stuff, right? Right, thanks, Roger. I have to go now. I'm on important business. I heard him ask if that meant I wouldn't be coming in on Friday, as I hung up. No way, my wife said. That can't be happening. Maybe you accidentally left the gas stove on or something. We'll have to deal with it. How do you know? I know you think you saw someone. I hope you don't think it was that man, she asked, her voice stern. No, my love. Even if I did see him, and I'm sure I did, I still doubt he could have gotten to our house in such a short amount of time. Just want to be sure. I want you to know that. Oh my God, can this day get any worse? I asked myself as I got out of the car and walked towards the ranger station. I kept my right hand in my Columbia jacket pocket. It was scorching hot today. I was sweating profusely, but I'd never done this before and didn't know any other way to conceal the gun. My wife and son were in the car. I told her to honk the horn if anyone else drove up the mountain road or if she saw anyone emerge from the woods. I was worried about them, but they were safer in the car. There was no telling what I was about to face. A wind chime jingled as I opened the door. I tightened my grip on the gun, ducking low through the doorway in case someone shot. No shots were fired. That was a start. I looked inside and saw no one at the counter. I carefully stepped in and let the door close behind me. The chime jingled again. The station wasn't too dilapidated, but it wasn't in the best condition either. The oak wainscoting was rotting near the base of the wall, as if the place had once been flooded, perhaps in a major storm. The walls were covered with mounted animal heads of all kinds: birds, foxes, a wolf, and in the center of the room, a 12-foot grizzly bear. They looked alive, ready to attack. Although I hadn't seen many stuffed animals, these were truly terrifying. Yet I thought, no, not Chuck Testa. Immediately after thinking this, I wasn't sure if I had a great sense of humor, or if I was completely losing my mind, or even if there was a difference. Is anyone here? I called out, no response. I called again, louder this time. Is anyone here? A moment later, someone replied from the back room, making me nearly jump out of my skin. I walked to the counter and pretended to look at a mountain map placed under a glass cover. In reality, I was watching the room out of the corner of my eye, ready to duck, run, or shoot, depending on who walked out. But this didn't help, because I forgot to consider a fourth possibility: standing still and acting normal. So, when I saw a small, friendly old man in a wheelchair trying to get over the small threshold between the two rooms, I probably looked like I was having a seizure. Hello, sir, I said. Are you lost, kid? No, actually, I'm looking for a place on this mountain. Not here, he said, correcting me. You're definitely on the wrong mountain. Mount N and the entire mountain are private property of Access Foundation. Suddenly, I felt like someone had kicked me hard in the stomach. I'm sure my face turned pale because I had heard that phrase before, a very long time ago, and that southern accent was unmistakable. Although I had never met or seen him, I knew this man. His name was Thomas Allen Pascal. Tommy. He looked harmless, but don't be fooled. Behind the wrinkled forehead, sparse gray hair, thick glasses, and friendly tone was a monster. Tommy's eyes narrowed, and for a brief moment the smile faded. You should leave, he said. Yes, I think you're right. This is the wrong mountain. He held out his hand, and out of foolish habit, I shook his hand, gripping it tightly. He didn't let go. The smile vanished, and he said, "What a relief that bastard is." I tried to pull my hand back, but he was very strong, much stronger than someone his age should be. He twisted my wrist in a way that stretched my fingers. His eyes widened as he peered at the scars on my fingertips. Without warning, he let go. I fell backward, my shoulder hitting a stuffed wolf, knocking it down. Tommy pushed his wheelchair back behind the counter. He was reaching for something. I fumbled, trying to get my hand inside my jacket. He wheeled back with one hand, turning towards me. In his other hand, he held a sawed-off shotgun. As he was turning, I finally managed to draw my gun, but he was incredibly fast. He fired, but I rolled to the left. The bullet grazed my head by inches. I put my finger on the trigger, but now I was lying on my back awkwardly. He tried to spin the wheelchair around with his free hand, his finger aimed at the trigger, ready to fire the shotgun's second barrel. But at that moment, some dark talent in me activated. Time seemed to slow. I saw his eyes and knew the angle he was aiming for to get a clear shot at my head. As he spun, the gun aimed at me again. I kicked hard against the wall with my foot, sliding towards the wheelchair, knocking it over. Tommy rolled out of the chair, raising the gun again, but this time I was faster. I had aimed my gun directly at his temple. "Put it down," I said, and he did. "Push it away," I said, and he did. I stood there, trying to think, trying to catch my breath, while still holding the pistol to Tommy's head. Tommy did the smart thing and didn't say a word, but standing here wasn't helping. I wasn't sure what to do in this situation. Outside, I heard my wife calling. "I'm okay," I yelled. "Stay there." I considered calling the police, but he could just say I was trespassing and use that as justification for trying to kill me. This is what they call real trouble, I thought. "All right," I said. "I have some questions. Fuck you." Although this was my first time doing this, and I'm a little embarrassed to admit that hitting someone with the butt of a gun sent a cold surge of pleasure down my spine. I wasn't sure if I was doing it right, so I said again, "I have some questions." And instead of a "fuck you," I got an "all right, ask away." I felt much better about this newfound skill. "There used to be an old mobile home on this mountain. Is it still there?" "There are many mobile homes on this mountain," he said. "True enough," I shrugged. Then I hit him with the gun butt again. This time, it felt much better, my technique. "You know which one I'm talking about, and just to be sure, I'll give you a little hint, the one with the shed full of dead bodies." "Ah," he said, his mouth bleeding. "That one? Yes, it's still there. Has anyone else been on this mountain recently? Specifically, a man with a scar on the left side of his face. You know who I'm talking about." His eyes narrowed. "Are you crazy?" I raised the gun. "No, damn it, no," he said, startled. "For years I thought he was dead." I breathed a sigh of relief. "Does that place still have electricity?" "Yes, still has a breaker, and no one's been there. It's been vacant all season," he growled. "Good, you're coming with me. I want you to show me. Can you walk?" He held out his hands with a look that said, "Are you kidding me?" "Then crawl." I gestured towards the door with the gun. I wished I could avoid having my wife and son see me leading a disabled old man crawling outside, but that was impossible. I needed time to think and figure out what I would do with this monster. Fortunately, our car had a very spacious trunk. 10:50 p.m., July 3, 2012. We've been in this mobile home for a few hours. The place has been completely renovated, both inside and out. The old shed has been torn down, and the hole where my grave once was has been filled in. There seems to be no trace left of the abuse and murders that occurred on Black Fog Mountain. For that, I am grateful. In a kitchen drawer, I found a roll of duct tape and used it to bind Tommy to a chair. For now, we are as safe as we can be. Tomorrow morning, I plan to interrogate him further. I feel he might provide some missing pieces to my history, though I can't be sure. Perhaps I'll also hit him for fun. Well, not exactly for fun. This bastard deserves it. This bastard is the one who got Rebecca pregnant. This bastard is the one who, until now, has gotten away scot-free. Perhaps after I get all the answers from him, someone out there will know what I should do with him. I've never intentionally killed anyone, but right now, I can't remove that option from my list of choices. Before posting this update, I checked back with my friends on No Sleep and found that the man from 1987 had posted a few more disturbing entries. I want to offer my deepest apologies to Sarah Ann. Everyone, please, please, please do not engage in any conversation with him. It's highly likely he's just an imposter, but I swear to you, I have faced monsters before, and this person, whoever he is very dangerous. Don't let the fact that he's just an anonymous internet user make you feel safe. To the man from 1987, leave them alone. The terrible thing is that by mentioning him and asking him to leave, I've fallen into his trap. Damn it, but I don't care. Focus on me. I can take it. I'll stop here today. Sadly, I doubt I'll be able to sleep, but that's okay because tomorrow is July 4th. It's sure to be a dramatic day. Good night. What do you do if you see something impossible? Some people might refuse to accept that what they're seeing is real. They'll search for a logical explanation to refute what their eyes are telling them. Skepticism is a valuable trait. We need people like that. Other people might refuse to accept that what they're seeing isn't real. They often look for any evidence that contradicts their feelings and find clever ways to refute it, making their beliefs plausible. Faith is a valuable trait. We need people like that too. There are extreme factions on each side fighting an endless war to define reality, each trying to destroy the other's viewpoint. Luckily for us, this happens. If everyone were allowed to disagree on whether something is real or not, and everyone was right in their own way without any debate about it, our world would be a place of complete chaos. Those people would be considered insane, but insanity is also a valuable trait. I found a can of stewed beans in the pantry. I know it's not a proper dinner, but I convinced Charlie that we were camping. "Daddy," he said, "why did you tie that man to the chair?" He asked while I sat in the tiny kitchen, trying to open the can of beans with a steak knife because I couldn't find a can opener. "Daddy and Uncle Tommy are just playing a game. It's okay." I finally made a hole big enough in the can. I poured the beans into a pan and turned on the gas stove. "Daddy," he said. "Yes, son." "I have a riddle for you." "Okay, tell me, son." "Knock, knock." "Who's there?" I asked, smiling. "Tommy." "Tommy who?" I asked, no longer smiling. "Tommy with a gun, run fast," he yelled, then burst out laughing. "That's great. Where did you hear that?" "I don't know." After dinner, I again told my wife to leave. I told her to go home and take care of the house, but she never would. She said I needed her. I couldn't argue, I really did need her. But I still tried to convince her to go. She wouldn't, but we were almost done. Soon, everything would be over and I could start piecing my life back together. July 4, 2012. A few hours passed. I was still on guard, making sure no one was sneaking around the mobile home. After making sure we wouldn't be disturbed, I relaxed a bit. I tried to make sense of everything, but it didn't work. I checked to make sure Charlie and my wife were sound asleep in the bedroom. After ensuring their room was safe, I returned to the living room to keep an eye on Tommy. "If you talk to me, I'll take off the tape." He nodded, so I pulled the tape from his mouth. "You should let me go," he said, as if it were obvious. "You tried to kill me." "It was just a misunderstanding." I don't think trying to shoot someone in the face can be called a misunderstanding. That was self-defense. I knew something was wrong as soon as I saw you. "Oh, what?" "You looked like one of those crazy meth addicts who sometimes show up around here. Plus, I saw you reach into your pocket and grab that gun." "I saw that too." "All right," I thought, "I need to learn how to hide a gun properly." This was definitely a rookie mistake. I watched his face as he spoke. He looked innocent and friendly. His voice sounded sincere, like an old man telling stories from the past. I could feel myself wanting to believe him, but I knew that lying came easily to monsters, and as he spoke, I thought, My God, that's another skill I'd love to have. It's those scars, he said, nodding. They made me act rashly. I was sure you were here to kill me. I still can. He looked right through me. No, he said. I don't think you will. You have the capacity, no doubt, but something is stopping you, he said. Right, I knew, and he knew it too. You're wrong, I said. I don't think so. They didn't have you long enough to turn you bad. Just left you with some deep scars. Let me go. I came here for answers. I have nothing to say to you. I want to know why they did it. I want to understand people like you. You don't know me. I'm not like them. No, I yelled. Don't bother lying anymore. The police can't touch you. You seem sure I won't kill you either. Lying to me gains you nothing. It's pointless. I'm not lying. I hated those two. His voice filled with hatred as he said it. They enjoyed causing pain and suffering. And you didn't. You raped her, I screamed. You bastard. I'm only vaguely aware that I'm punching myself in the head while yelling at him. Just inches away, your baby was found inside her body. You should have rotted in some hole for what you did to her. I didn't enjoy hurting that little girl. Then why? Tell me, I need to know. His head tilted to one side and his eyes narrowed. A thin smile slowly appeared as he spoke, his voice different. This was the monster inside Thomas Allen Pascal. I did it because I was hungry. You don't know how delicious kids are. The way he said it sent chills down my spine. Hungry? I would target pregnant women. If I couldn't find any, I'd pick anyone and make them pregnant. No way, I thought. Oh my God. 5 or 6 months, that was the best time, he said. His tongue flicked out, licking a thin stream of drool hanging from his chin. That's when you should use the coat hanger. No, I thought. Oh my God. I was no longer in control of myself. I was watching from above as someone else was doing it. I saw my hands clench into fists, punching Tommy in the face over and over again. It was strange, so strange. I wished I could hold my family right now. I wanted to hug them, kiss them, and tell them how important they were to me. But Tommy was still smiling, and my hands kept punching him. Fresh, he said, his mouth full of fresh blood. They're best when you eat them fresh. Inadmissible, not accepted, not allowed to be valid. Things that, according to established legal principles, cannot be introduced as evidence in a court of law for a jury or judge to consider in making a decision for a case. The Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution, part of the Bill of Rights, protects against unreasonable searches and seizures and requires any search warrant to be approved by a judicial authority and supported by probable cause. Therefore, in a case where a deputy sheriff decides to sneak onto private property on suspicion that a suspect might be there instead of obtaining a search warrant to legally examine the area, and even if that search saves a boy's life and uncovers Polaroid photos of a person named Thomas Allen Pascal, proving conclusively that he is a monster, that evidence becomes inadmissible. Morning, Tommy, though battered, was still breathing. My wife had pulled me off him. I would say he was lucky, but I don't think his life or death mattered much to him, as he was too old to effectively continue being a monster. After a hearty breakfast of leftover stewed beans from yesterday, surprisingly, they were better on the second day, I took my wife for a walk around the property. Most of the old cars were gone, but the school bus was still there, with a large oak tree growing through it. As we walked, I didn't say much, but after a few minutes of thought, I pointed to where the shed used to be. We walked to that area, and I noticed that although grass and plants had overgrown the surrounding area, the spot where the pit had been was bare. Nothing could grow there. The area seemed to repel life. Curious, I knelt to get a closer look. The ground seemed to have a reddish hue, as if stained with the blood of the half-dozen people who had been found there. Although I thought it might just be an illusion created by the light, I bent down and picked up some dirt, and as I let it sift through my fingers, I was reminded of a line T.S. Eliot wrote. I will show you fear in a handful of dust. So you were down there? My wife asked. Yes, I replied. I should have died. How did you get out? There wasn't much evidence that the man or Rebecca had ever been on the mountain, so he thought the judge wouldn't sign a search warrant without probable cause. My wife asked, right. Exactly, I said. The sheriff told him not to do anything, to get a search warrant as proper procedure. But because someone had leaked the story to the media, and because his belief that she was actually here was so strong, he broke the law. She waited for me to continue. And he saved you, she added. No, why not? You just said. I said he broke the law to get here. He could have saved both Rebecca and me and stopped them if he had acted immediately instead of wasting time deciding what to do. Then that's not fair. I would have died if he had waited. No, the thing that bothers me is that the woman didn't inject me with the full dose, just enough to knock me out. I can't understand why she did that. With all the good intentions of the deputy, he only made the evidence unusable to convict Tommy. He tried to do the right thing, I know that. You mean those two got away? She asked. I smiled. The bad guys can't always win. If they did, everyone would become bad guys. When I woke up, I was able to tell them which direction they had gone. There was a checkpoint somewhere to the west. I don't know exactly where. I don't know how many states they crossed or how many other people were harmed in their path, but there was nowhere left for them to run. The FBI got involved after learning it was a federal case. Helicopters buzzed overhead, dog teams narrowed the search area, while one lucky boy, who had survived a terrifying ordeal, lay in a hospital bed. An ATF sniper took his shot. A man, who only cared about dragging as many pigs referring to the police to hell as possible, drove straight towards the checkpoint, firing a revolver as he drove. He hit 2 people, but not fatally, before a sniper's bullet pierced the windshield and tore through his head. When police pulled his body from the wreckage, they noted that his face was mostly gone, but his body had an interesting scar on the left side of his mouth. No one else was in the truck. Hundreds of miles away in New York, a woman walked into a police station. She stated that she had been held, tortured, and forced to harm others by a man with a scarred face. She said she had information that could lead to the arrest of 2 accomplices. Late afternoon, July 4, 2012. I'm standing in a bedroom of the trailer, a room where I forbade my wife and son from entering. I think about how the man entered here exactly 25 years ago, the things he made me do. I don't like this place. It's stained with evil. Something has to be done. I left my wife and son outside the trailer for a while I took Tommy a distance from the trailer and the ranger station. Not so far that he couldn't crawl back, but far enough that I wouldn't have to worry about him pulling any tricks. As I pulled him out of the trunk, I couldn't resist a few last words. I hope you die, I said as I cut the duct tape, but not by my hand. I'm not a monster. Back at the trailer, I gathered my family. After a little tidying up, we were finally ready to leave. I'm still the same man I was when I arrived at Black Fog Mountain, I thought as my wife turned the car back onto the highway. In the distance behind me, I could see thick black smoke billowing into the clear summer sky. Someone must have had an accident with fireworks. Where do we go now, my love? My wife asked. I think it's time to have a chat with Sally. For those who want to know about my childhood experiences, this could be considered an ending. Thank you for helping me relive these memories. You've seen my last day as a 6-year-old, met my family, learned the fate of the man who kidnapped me, joined me on this journey, and you've seen that monsters are real. Beyond this point, I can only give you a glimpse into other parts of my life and the troubles I still face. The sign says, no entry. What will you do? 12:01 a.m., July 5, 2012. Does the hotel matter? Officially, it's my birthday again. Not that it means anything to me. It's just another reminder of everything that happened. How can anyone celebrate a day when you were forced to kill a little girl and then buried alive in a pit full of rotting corpses? I know it's wrong, but I'm angry. Anyone who dares to wish me a happy birthday on my birthday. I don't want to see anyone or talk to anyone who might imply they're happy it's my birthday. In fact, on previous birthdays, I usually ended up getting blackout drunk in some bar, never near home, you understand, but far enough away that if I did break down and pour out my heart in public, or get into a brawl, or commit some petty crime and get thrown in jail overnight, no one would know who I was. My wife changed all that. Over the years, she brought me in and out of AA meetings. I don't think I'm an alcoholic, I just started going to make her happy. Initially, I hated going there, but over time, I changed my perspective. Now, sometimes I even enjoy going. My longest streak was 19 months without drinking. That was when my son was born. I tried, I really did, but of course, time passed as it does, and suddenly July came again, and I disappeared on a week-long business trip. I don't remember everything that happened. At least I didn't end up in jail. When I came home, I broke down and cried. The next day, she took me to a meeting, but as always, I never told my story, just nodded when others told theirs, and told them everything would be okay. We're here for them, be strong. I took out my blue 6-month sobriety token. I tossed it in the air, and it landed face up. I read the inscription, "To thine own self be true." I bowed my head and read the serenity prayer, or my version of it. God, I pray, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom not to bother with the difference. Actually, I should amend it further. I don't want serenity. I just want the fiction I created for myself to become true. Since I was blackout drunk a few days ago, I don't have the right to keep this token anymore. I threw it in the trash. From day one, I said, it's late, I'm tired. As I drifted off, I remembered that I hadn't had a single drink all week. Maybe this Friday, I can go to a meeting and get a new keychain, a new week of sobriety. 1987. I woke up in hell. It wasn't a place of fire and brimstone. You didn't see tortured souls, torn apart by red-skinned demons with golden eyes and black claws. You didn't hear the screams for forgiveness from sinners whose guts Satan himself was tearing out. In hell, you didn't see or hear anything. All you did was feel. What I felt in hell were insects. A constantly writhing mass of maggots covering everything. Bodies. The way the skin cracked and crumbled when you tried to move, and the stiff bones piercing through putrid flesh, covered in slimy, stinking fluid that used to be blood and organs, enveloping you, creating a prison within hell's own prison. Time didn't exist in hell. Nothing ever changed there. All boundaries blurred until you became a part of hell. You became silent, motionless, serene. When the light shone in and time returned, when someone pulled you out, when they told you everything would be all right, you would kick, scream, punch, bite. I imagined what it would be like to be completely evil, but good and evil don't exist. All that matters is taking what you want. I want it all. I want it all to bleed. I'm coming for you, I said while staring at the mirror. There was no soul behind these eyes. Souls don't exist. I'll kill you, kid. The kid doesn't matter, the kid is just a piece of meat. I picked up a razor blade and carved a jagged line across one side of its face. Much better, I said. It's much better. Blood flowed from the kid's stupid face. I'm doing this, kid, I said. I'm doing this in your head, kid. The kid resisted. It fought back against my presence. Good, I like it when they fight back like that. Much more interesting. I brought the razor close to its eyeball and started cutting. You can't keep me here forever. I woke up screaming. The obsession with understanding evil was severely affecting me, but what could I do? Ideas are like parasites. They gnaw and grow from your experiences and memories. Since I undertook this journey to reclaim my past, I've been unable to suppress the urge to understand evil, and I understand evil. I studied that man. I could become him with a need like mine. Side effects, such as vivid nightmares or seeing things others might say are impossible, such things are inevitable. But what if it's more than that? Maybe not. I thought about the man from 1987. What if I was the one who did all those horrible things? What if I was the one writing those horrible things? The thought made me shiver. The morning started with an early lunch at a very nice pizza place. Although I absolutely loved the rustic flavor created by the traditional brick oven, the restaurant's decor was awful. The red and white checkered tablecloths and the blue, white, and red tiled walls were a tired cliché. But as I said, the pizza was great, and in my opinion, food always trumps bad decor or service. 3 stars. Since we were in the city and had been through a stressful week, I decided to treat myself to a shave and a haircut at the barbershop. Just 2 bits. Actually, about $2 with inflation, which is terrible. You look great, son, my son said. Can I get a haircut too? Maybe another time, I told him. We have an appointment coming up and I can't be late. Next, I went to Nordstrom. An incredibly stylish salesman helped me choose a suit. He suggested an Armani Colazione 2-button window pane suit, which was incredibly sharp. You look like a new man, my wife said. She was dressed all in black but still stood out more than anyone else in the room. Her smile was truly something I had never seen before. Her eyes, a unique winter green, rivaled the beauty of the famous girl from Afghanistan. Though I should have been grieving the loss of my mother, who had swallowed an entire bottle of tranquilizers in her despair. All I could do was stare at this beautiful woman, wishing I had the courage to talk to her. She caught my eye. She excused herself from the conversation she was having and walked towards me, where I stood. I pretended to be busy adjusting a bouquet of flowers, hoping she would see this as important and decide not to bother me. I felt a light tap on my shoulder. "Excuse me," she said. I was filled with dread as I slowly turned to face her. She touched my arm and said, "I'm really very sorry for your loss." All my anxieties immediately vanished. I had heard those 7 words hundreds of times today, but of all the people, she was the only one who truly meant it. This is how I met my wife. This is why I will always cherish her. 1987. I woke up in a hospital bed. I noticed the stitches on each of my fingers. It made me think of a stuffed animal. They itched and I wanted to tear them out. Not only were my hands stitched, but so was my back. It also itched. A nurse said I was severely dehydrated but stable. I didn't know what those words meant. I shook my head no. A doctor said I was still in shock. I shook my head no. A police officer with a bite mark on his hand asked if I could talk to him about what happened. I shook my head no. A woman wearing glasses, holding a clipboard, said many words I didn't understand. I shook my head no. The man who brought dessert asked how I was feeling today. I shook my head no. Mom and Dad came to visit. They once had a little boy who missed them, but I didn't know where that boy had gone. So when they asked questions or tried to touch me, I did nothing. One day, an ordinary-looking man visited. He showed me a badge with 3 numbers on it. Initially, I intended to ignore him like everyone else, but the way he looked at me was different from everyone else. Unlike them, he didn't show pity or empathy. "I know what they did to you, boy," he said, his voice completely devoid of emotion. "I want to stop them," he continued. The way he spoke was as if I wasn't a 6-year-old, but a 7-year-old. "If you want that too, tell me if you hear any mention of where they might go." "He wants to go to Destiny, Nevada," I said. He said something into his radio, then nodded at me and left. I never saw him again. Days turned into weeks. I was transferred to a treatment facility where I could leave my bed, but I didn't. Most of the time, I just sat and stared at the over-the-top movie poster someone had pinned to my room wall. One day, a woman she said she was some kind of social worker I didn't understand came to see me. She said my parents wouldn't be coming back. "Why?" I asked. "I can't say. It's under investigation." I'm sitting in the waiting area of the Spring Grove Psychiatric Hospital. A kind receptionist named Michelle leads me to the meeting area. I sit there, wondering what I will say to Sally. A bell rings, and the heavy metal door with a mesh window opens. My teeth clench, and a jolt of anger runs through me as I see Sally walk through the door. My instinct urges me to grab my gun and shoot her in the face. Unfortunately, the gun isn't there. It seems I left it in the car. Back in 1987, I was placed in foster care, managed by an old woman named Mrs. Rose. She smelled of Vicks Vapo Rub and seemed like a kind woman whenever someone else was around, but when it was just me and her, she liked to bully me. She made me lie down on her bed many times. She would stare until I fell asleep, and then I would feel the pillow pressed tightly against my face. I tried not to resist because I knew she would remove it before I stopped breathing, but I still didn't like it. She told me my father was a monster. She said he knew the man who kidnapped me. The poor woman, what she had to endure, she said as she read about the case in the newspaper or watched it on TV. "You're lucky she escaped. Otherwise, they would have sent you back to your father, and I wouldn't be getting foster care payments." "He wouldn't do that," I argued. "He did. People will do all sorts of crazy things for money, especially insurance money. You're too young to understand." I didn't believe her. I ran away for the second time, but before I left, I took one of her pet cats, the one she always stroked, and I sat on it until it stopped moving. Instead of sitting opposite me, Sally sat on my lap. She started kissing my neck. I pushed her away. She grabbed my head and forced her tongue into my mouth. I should have felt disgusted. I know that, but I didn't. "Make love to me right here," she whispered, her hand rubbing my groin. "I want you." 2 orderlies burst through the crowd of aimlessly wandering madmen. They grabbed her arms and pulled her off me. "Let me go, you bastards." As they dragged her through the heavy metal door, I got up to leave. "Wait, wait, wait," she screamed. "I'll be good, I'm done." She stopped struggling with the orderlies. See? She looked at me and I nodded, signaling that it was okay. They released her and she calmly walked over and sat down just as I sat down. Hello, Sally, do we know each other? She asked, with a look of pure shock and confusion on her face. It was just an act. I knew she was just trying to fool me. I still have the cards you sent. How sweet of you to remember me every birthday, every year. She winked. Did you buy anything nice with that money? That cursed money. I didn't even want to donate it to charity. So, how long has it been? About 10 years, huh? Try 25 years. Exactly, 25 years, she said. All right, I guess so. If you say so, honey, how are you doing? Better than you, I imagine. They let us use the internet, so I looked around and that old friend, that bitch. That damn bitch. That dirty, filthy bitch. That vile, I want her dead. Kill her, slit her throat. That's great, I said in a calm voice, trying to control the sudden rage rising within me. Nice suit, did you dress up for me? Yes, my father used to say you should dress nicely whenever you attend an important meeting. So, what's your job? I looked into you. It seems you have an important hearing coming up, I suggested. You answer my questions and I'll testify for you. Sally considered what I said. How do I know you'll keep your word? I looked directly into her eyes for about 15 seconds. Then I spit into my hand and held it out. She smiled. She spit into her hand and shook mine. Deal, she said. What do you want to know? I want to understand you, I said. I want to know why you threw me down that hole without killing me, as you should have. She sighed. Haven't we talked about this before? I told you, I just did it. What do you mean, just did it? She started playing with her red hair, twisting it around her finger. Sometimes, she said, seemingly choosing her words carefully, people realize they have a choice before them. Many times they have a choice, but they prefer to pretend they don't. But sometimes, she sighed, people know what they should do, what they seem destined to do, but they do something else instead. Don't you remember this? No, but I think I understand. I could have killed you, but I thought it would be more interesting and dangerous if I didn't. How long were you down there before they found you, huh? I shook my head no, I wouldn't tell her that. Just like with your father, she said. More fun to mess with him. He committed suicide because of those accusations. People really believed your act. Thank you. Hanged himself, right? Right. And your mother, her too, right? Intentional overdose. I wanted to think no. The punches just kept coming, didn't they? I think we're done here. Just one more question. How many lives do you think you've ruined? A dozen, she smiled impishly. Tell me, Sally, how many? She leaned in close and whispered, thousands, tens of thousands. I nodded. Somehow I didn't doubt it. I stood up and walked away. Hey, she called after me. It looks like you took my advice from last time. Let the past lie dormant. A chill ran down my spine, but I kept walking. That would be better, remember we agreed. I'll remember, Sally, I thought, and if they let you out, I'll be waiting for you. I had dug up the monsters from my past, and now I knew her. I could become her, I could destroy her. Then she would just be number 2. As we drove away, my wife asked if I was okay. No, I said, I'm not okay, but I will be. I know that in my heart. I think we should visit your parents first. It's not too far. I nodded. As my wife drove, I tried to recall the details of what I had done as I was moved from foster home to foster home. I didn't understand the purpose of torturing animals when I was 12, but I still did it, trying to understand that little girl. I didn't enjoy burning trash cans when I was 14, but I thought I could learn something. At 16, I carved lines into my arms with a razor blade, but the pain I thought I would feel simply wasn't there. So, at 22, when I received the call that my mother had died, I planned to find a girl with the intention of doing unspeakable things. The answer must lie there, I thought. But then I met you. You saved me. I went to see Sally once after we started dating. She told me to bury all of this. I took her advice, and even though it was given for her chaotic nature, it made me feel something. Perhaps I should thank her because in some ways she saved me. This darkness will always exist within me. I will always stand on the brink of becoming another monster, but the bright light of your hope reminds me that I still have a choice. Life can be controlled. Life is good. I can feel it. I can feel happiness. Until the day I see that rusty red van again. Somewhere, stuck between the past, present, and future, is a man kneeling before the graves of his parents. He kneels, begging for forgiveness. Charlie, his sweet boy, holds his father tight. His beautiful wife gently strokes him. "You've come so far," she said. "Let it all go, don't look back anymore." December 31, 2011. I was at Roger's New Year's Eve party. 11:59:59. Happy New Year. I was still kissing my wife, and in the background I heard everyone singing, "Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and auld lang syne?" January 1, 2012. 1:15 a.m. I was driving home. I was alone. I had had a few drinks, but not enough to be considered over the limit. No, it wasn't due to drinking. I was speeding, as I often do when I'm behind the wheel and it's late at night. I saw headlights from behind, and the car moved into the left lane, speeding up to pass me. When I looked over, I saw the old, rusty van. I floored the accelerator and heard screams. The speedometer needle went past 100 mph. I looked over my shoulder to see if we had gotten away. I never saw the sharp curve ahead. Stuck somewhere between the past, present, and future, a man kneels, staring at the graves of his deceased parents. He is on his knees, begging for forgiveness. "Daddy," his little son says, "don't cry." His beautiful wife kisses his hands. "This is how it should have been, this is how it should have been," he screams. "But it didn't happen. Oh my God, Charlie and you were in that car too." The man looks down, and instead of just seeing 2 graves, he now sees 4. Next to his parents' graves are 2 others, one much smaller. "When both of you died," I said, "I couldn't take it, I had to end it, I had to. What other choice did I have? Just a bottle of pills and a gallon of liquor, an easy way out. I've gone too far." I started to retreat. I could feel him crawling right under my skin. My wife and son hugged me tightly as I let my tears flow in their loving embrace. If I lost both of you, it would just be me and him, and he is stronger. He has the power to take over. Someone erased everything I loved from my story, but this time I will write my own story. "You brought us back." "I've done terrible things," I said. "Truly horrible things. I've caused pain and suffering to others. I don't deserve either of you, but I need you both." "Enough," my wife said. "You're a good man, you're a good husband and a good father too. Don't be so hard on yourself." "I can't control myself sometimes. Things just happen." "Daddy," Charlie said, "I think you set our house on fire. Don't do that again, okay?" I laughed. How could I not laugh? "We're here," my wife said. "We'll always be here with you. You need to understand that." I think I do. That's what I'm best at, understanding people. If I know enough, I can bring them back. That's why he came back too. I don't think he can harm anyone anymore. As long as you always stay strong. "Daddy," Charlie said, "can your friend Rebecca come with us now?" I had never thought of that. "We always wanted a daughter," my wife said. I shrugged. I heard footsteps coming from behind, and we all turned. "You've grown so big, Rebecca," she said. "I know you don't smell anymore." "No, Rebecca, this is Charlie," I said, wiping my tears. She knelt down and took his hand. "Nice to meet you, Charlie," she said. "Did you know I was going to name my son that?" He shook his head no. She looked back at me, her face beaming with excitement. "Can we get a dog? Will you feed it and take care of it? Promise." "Then yes, we'll get a dog. So what now?" my wife asked. "I'm not sure. Just one more question. Are you two really here, or am I crazy?" "Both," Rebecca replied. "Do you think we're ghosts, my love?" my wife asked. "I don't know." "Do you think we're just imaginary, Daddy?" Charlie asked. "I don't know." "Do you know anything?" Rebecca asked. "This is impossible, I know that, but to me, you two are real. I don't care what anyone else says. I just don't know what that makes me." "You're not a monster," my wife said firmly. "But I could be a monster. Never let me forget that. I feel like I could just flip a switch and become as cold and violent as any of them." "So what do you want to do now?" my wife said. "I don't know," I said. "There's no happy ending. This will have to do." Music.